Hi, good morning. It's Jim from Observatory. It's a unique time. I've actually written some bullet points down of the subject I want to talk about in this video. Before I do, big thanks to the few people that support it. I always try to encourage more people to support what we're doing here on this observatory. It's not just about looking at all the anomalies that are taking place with relationship to our Earth, and we should pay attention for that. For the specific reason is what I heard on the news the other day, that we have lost in the last decade 2/3 of the species on this planet. Think about that. We deforest at the rate of 1 acre every second. That's unbelievable, isn't it, guys? We need to, as good stewards, do more than what we are right now. I think you will agree with me. The topic of today is subversion, and the reason for that is because it's a tactic that is being used on us all, and it is a war with the psychology and the mental state of our ability to cognitively see and view the world the way we do, and it is having an influence on us. So that's going to be the topic of this video. And I think you're going to find it really interesting when we get down to the bottom line of this. So I invite you to get yourself a coffee or a cup of tea, a cigarette or whatever, get comfortable and just go through this with me. So the subject is subversion, and you might be thinking to yourself, why is that important? I think later on you'll understand why that is important. Subversion is taking a convincing ideology and infecting someone with that idea that it is the best way to improve their lives. And in order to do that, the system that we have right now, if you want to call it the matrix, that's okay, that's fine. The matrix of the system, it doesn't matter which country you live in. Subversion is taking place. In fact, while we are here right now and you're listening to me talk about this, subversion is a war against all ethnicities, consciousness on this planet. We all have different ideologies. If you look at the ideologies of Indians compared to those in Western countries like America, you will know that there is different gradients between the two with regards to the ideology. Ideology usually comes from a lot of things, but just for instance, education, labour and employee relationships, religion, and also the propaganda. The media are not an elected source, can you believe it? But when we are watching the TV, they are telling us the stories which they selected for us to watch, and obviously they can direct the narrative of that subject to you, and it can change some of the the functions of your life. We hear a lot of talk about equality, but really in these democratic societies that we live in, equality is just bullshit and unfair, really, at the end of the day. And yet they want us to all be on the same level. But how can you have someone with a unique ability which far supersedes somebody without that ability, that is a progressive and an achiever and works hard? How can you compare that with someone who is a criminal, and deals in child trafficking and things like that? How can you give equality to the same people? It was one of the questions I'm trying to raise to you guys, and this all comes down to subversion. There is a tactic taking place with the breaking down of those moral fabrications which allow our societies, good societies and good people, to formulate in. When all the fabrics of society have been dismantled, by abuse of those things that I talked about, education, labour and employee relationships. We've seen this, haven't we, happen. The unions have been dismantled. Those unions were the in-between mechanism that kept an employee being treated fairly with the employer, respecting the employees. We've seen over the last 20 years a dismantlation of unions, which helped that. We've also seen, in my view, a degradation of religion. People don't want religion anymore, and what we're seeing a lot more creep into society is all the filthy wrong things that we don't really want, that destroy people's lives, like drugs. Why can't we control that? It's not just drugs, but the promotion of opposite sex relationships and same-sex relationships, more to the point. Why are we seeing these things creep in? Because in subversion tactics, we see that these are the fundamentals that underpin the foundations of our little cultures. And so if we can, if we want to use subversion to destroy something and change the ideology of a continent of people, then we are going to attack those key formulas which keep that continent of people in a like-minded sense. If you break the like-minded sense down, you break down the control of the country. I mean, it is really used today, and it is being used right now, guys, as a better mechanism than war. You don't even have to fire one bullet. Just change the ideology of the people in that country and they will conform. We're seeing this on a global basis now, so there is obviously a kingpin somewhere at the top of the pile of the rubbish that is directing this course of action. We are seeing definite subversion tactics being used, because we know that people are less likely to go to church these days. We know that the education that our children receives is crazy. I mean, if we know there is no, just for a quick example, if we know there's no there's not enough neutrinos coming off the sun to support nuclear fusion, then obviously it's not nuclear fusion that's taking place. But this is still the garbage that is being taught our future scientists, and it's incorrect. What we need to do is learn by the knowledge we gain, and then apply different theories to it. But we are being subject to this game globally now with subversion, and it's a powerful psychological tactic to control people. And there is obviously, like I talk about this kingpin, there's this kingpin somewhere which we've asked for, who is it? I mean, some people would say it's well, it could be anyone, couldn't it? We could use any name, it doesn't really matter, but it's in that person's interest not to reveal themselves. Obviously they're intelligent, whoever they are, and they don't want to reveal what they are and what they're doing, for the simple fact is that they can then be subject to a lot of questioning, a lot of blame and things like that. There might be a few pauses, while I go through some of these notes that I've written down in this video. Here's one, when all the fabrics of society have been dismantled, we at that time will be looking for a saviour, and we'll be looking for someone like a Jesus Christ saviour to correct all this, and it won't be long before one appears, when there's a direction of a narrative of an object or an objection. We will find that one will appear, and we'll be happy for that, for the simple fact is that we will put our trust in this person, because we believe whatever happens, it's like when we elect a new politician, you know, a new president or prime minister, you know, we believe that this person is going to change things, but there's a little sneaky tactic move that takes place. Basically what that is to take, you know, 2/3 off of somebody in a sort of method. I mean, it could be easily explained like with what's taking place right now with COVID-19. It is a global issue, and therefore there must be a subversion tactic taking place with regards to that, you know, and that there will be, you know, the word I'm looking for, a solution for the problem that has been created, and that will be subversion. It will be to direct your attention somewhere else. But you know, during these things that we've seen taking place over the last 10 or so years, we've noticed something in common, that there is always, during these times, a diversion of wealth, and therefore that is the reason for using the subversion tactic. It is to divert the wealth from the poor to the rich, and the way you do that is simply remove 2/3 or 1/3, and in this case I think it's 2/3 of the freedoms and wealth from people, and then give them 1/3 back. And at that point you give it them back. It's like, you know, you lost your house through a recession, but you had the opportunity, because of the new solutions that were brought forward, to get back on the ladder again and try again. And it's always constantly keeping us down. It's always like, you know, the grass needs to be cut at a regular interval, and so it is done. And every time the grass is cut, we lose the energy that went into the grass to grow it. You know, in our circumstances here, we lose the wealth that went into it. What a lot of countries that use the tactic of subversion have realised is that a way of averting it, would you believe, is by not losing the country's religion. Something very sturdy, strong foundation. You know, they found that by keeping the religion of the country and those moral concepts was a way of, you know, fighting back the subversion tactics. And you know, as like I say, a dwindling amount of people now visiting churches and taking up religion and even reading the Bible. But the problem is guys, if you look into the history of our ancient civilizations, it was the breakdown, first of all, of the religion that led to the destruction and the end of those civilizations. And this is true for the Sumerians, the Mayans and the Incas. This is what ended their era, and it will be no different in our era. You know, we are all equally subjective to this tactic that is being used and has been used for thousands of years. You know, it's a great tactic when you think about it. You don't even have to fire one bullet. Just change the mentality of your opponent and you can win him over. This is like the ancient martial arts, you know. It's by a huge guy attacking you with his massive weight. If he was to hit me on the jaw, I'd fall on the floor straight away. But it's about diversion and using his momentum and guiding it as well. It's like taking his arm as he went to punch you, taking his arm with that force that he put behind it and grabbing it and pulling it along with him, and you'll push him onto the floor using his own momentum. It's that tactic. Subversion is a great tool in controlling people's minds, and we are at this point facing, you know, many countries battling with each other. I mean, we all don't see eye to eye, do we? I mean, us in the West don't agree with what's going on in the East. We all have the hair stand up on the back of our neck when we are slowly emerging into a communist system. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants socialism. But with subversion, it is the grooming method of controlling your mind, controlling the media, controlling all those things that we see and hear, and it is about planting seeds of thought in your mind. That is what is taking place right now, guys. That's the whole intention of this video today, is just to make you aware of that. We are already in the gauntlet. I've talked about it for years, and I said it would only be a matter of time before we spanked into one of these obstacles, and from that point, because of the speed and momentum we was travelling through that gauntlet, we would hit and cascade into all the others. And that's where we are right now. There's things taking place on a subconscious level, on a subliminal level, on a psychological level. These are the tactics that we're not completely all aware of right now, but subconsciously they are being formulated, and we are being led to believe that these are the things we need. We are in a situation where we should be really thinking about turning the direction of where we're going 180 degrees and heading back up the road towards some form of comfort. But as long as we are pressurized and we are being subconsciously controlled by what we see, what we hear, and we know it's taking place. Look at the censorship that is taking place right now. Nobody censors the BBC, CNN, and all the other mainstream media outlets. Nobody censors them, and we certainly don't elect them to do that. And why is that? Why don't we elect the media? It's because it's been used as a tool to give us propaganda in the form of which the directing forces want us to believe that this is the important story of the day. I'm pretty sure you're like me, you're looking at what has taken place this year. Here in the UK, we have been subjected to the loss of pretty much all of our human rights as a result of a proclaimed pandemic, which could easily be nothing more than the common cold. And people die of pneumonia in hospitals every single day in this country. We didn't need COVID-19 to be announced to be, the reason for these deaths. But, here we are again. I live very close to probably one of the second largest cities in the UK, Birmingham, and they have imposed a lockdown on it again. Not as bad as what it was in March. They are imposing measures on a daily basis, and people are getting confused. But this is destroying businesses, destroying people's ability to earn money so that they can participate in this system, and it will make them financially worse off. So this is not improving anybody's way of life at the moment. And at the same time, there is a subversion tactic being taken place, which a lot of people are completely unaware of, because some people don't even know what subversion means. But it is taking place, and as it does, it removes the freedoms. And what they're trying to do is take away 2/3 of your freedoms, or even they'll attempt to take 3/3 of the freedoms and give you 2 or 1/3 back, but they will have taken 2/3 off you. And that could be in wealth, could be the fact that you lost your property, you lost your business, etc., etc. I heard in the comment section of one of our recent videos a tragedy that had taken place. There was a person that was saying to me, Gene, I wish I could support what you do. I really believe in what you do here at the Observatory. It's not always the case. We have some people think that we don't do nothing, and some people think that the equipment doesn't do nothing either. Well, I'm sorry, the equipment wasn't designed to microwave your food to get it hot. The equipment wasn't designed to give you an internet connection. What the equipment was to do was one specific job. So yeah, they are right, it doesn't do a lot. It does what it was designed to do, and that is take, with regards to the magnetometers that we've got out there in the field globally, it was designed to take a reading or a sample of the strength of the magnetic field in that region. If it was one of our muon detectors, it was designed to count the amount of muons that interacted with the silicon photomultiplier. That was all it was designed to do. So yeah, you're right, it doesn't do a lot, and things don't change, and you should be thankful that they don't. But when they do start to change on an alarming rate, you will know, because we have the equipment actually monitoring that. When we talk about CO2 parts per million, we've got an equipment that measures that. When we talk about oxygen saturation in the atmosphere, we have got the Luminox state-of-the-art technology sampling that, so that we can keep track on these things and relate back to you guys. So, my best advice to you guys is stay with God. Simple as that. The morals and dogma that people associate with Bibles and religion is one thing, but you know what? These are our ancestors talking to us from the past that witnessed such events take place. Noah's flood, Sodom and Gomorrah, and the event which is on our cusp, I believe, about to occur, because all the signs are back here today for that to happen. On top of that, COVID-19 will be a mechanism that will try and subversionally change your opinions, your outlooks on life, your functioning of the communities, the villages, and the little towns and cities and the nations that make up what they do. This is a tactic which is being used against you. You need to look into subversion and the subversion tactics and how they groom your mind, and then understand that we are in a situation where this is being massively outplayed on us, and the majority of us are unaware of it. And the worst thing is that we face natural anomalies, and we are here back again after 780,000 years facing something that rarely happened, magnetic reversal. We couldn't even get it even any worse a time. This couldn't be a worse time for the magnetic reversal to take place, because we've also at the same time got a grand solar minimum, also equally amplifying the effects of the weakening magnetosphere on this Earth. And that is obviously, as you guys know if you've been following, it is an increasing inbound galactic and cosmic radiation. It screws up our jet streams, it screws up our seasons, it puts farmers in a position where they have to be gamblers, and as a result we really rely on these guys to make sure our crops and things come in to our shops so that we can buy them, in our artificial cities that we've become reliant upon. Cities are not sustainable unless you have regular influx of commodities moving in there, regular influx of energy moving in there, and sewerage that comes out of there. When the cities break down, all these things do not function, and as a result of that, the cities decay. And we're starting to see in some cases and scenarios, just because of the fact that people can't obtain money in the monetary system, the very decay, working away. So, with that, guys, we do a lot more than just talk about these things. We do a lot more than just bring your awareness to these things and these problems that we face. We've got equipment out there in the field that collects the information, because I'm sure you're not just interested in you know, the game of life that we're all accustomed to. You're also interested in the nature of this planet. That is a really beautiful and rare thing. And you know, if you want to support the Observatory and the website that we've got covering all these anomalies, there's a link down there. You know, it's entirely up to you. You know, if you want to make that effort. And for some people, it's a big effort, you know, to take just 5 minutes out of their life to fill out the form to support the Observatory is a big effort. Can you believe that? Yet they will easily spend an hour watching some drivel on Netflix for 2 hours. Yeah, you just can't comprehend it. You know, you can't understand the logic of some people. You know, it is a time where we should all be working together in big numbers, because it is, as we know, strength in numbers succeeds. So yeah, there is a link down there if you want to support what we do. You can also become one of our patrons if you want to. None of it is mandatory, of course, but you know, how far do we go without support? We should be raking in millions, and we could be changing things on massive scales. But you know, people are drawn to pranksters, jokers on YouTube, and those are the ones that, unfortunately, that have the majority of the subscription. You know, I can understand to some degree, you know, people want distraction, but if we distract ourselves all the time, we lose focus of what we should be doing, and that is improvements. And it's, you know, it's a hard decision to make. You know, you've got to cross the line. Do you want to change the world for the better of our future generations to come, our children that we look at every day across the breakfast table, or do we want to, you know, continue in the path of ignorance and burying our head in the sand? You know, a decision has to be made. It's a tough one, and that is a decision to take this, you know, in a direction which is more positive for everybody, not in being lazy and just allowing the cards to fall where they do, because when we do that, we have no control over anything, you know, and it should come as no surprise that when we do that, things don't improve. Okay, I have talked enough, guys. I hope you have enjoyed your coffee with me this morning, and you know, I will be back at some point this week. Maybe I'll do some more bullet points and talk about some interesting things like we have today, subversion. And the only other thing to say is take care of everyone, and as always, bye for now.